Okay. There we go. You mind if I mute myself? I just want to make sure the music and everything is... Okay. Yep, we're good. I'm so excited. Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that music on the Cougar. Yeah, Twitch says offline for me. Oh well, we're... Okay. Well. Mm-hmm. Kitty. Okay. Yeah. 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 I'm ready to go. All right. Okay.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Long Dark Nights podcast. I'm Kirk Steven.
And I'm Jitwire. Thank you so much for joining us today. I want to take a moment to welcome those of you in chat. Humble Tracker, hello. Mary and Pickle Lil, good to see you all. Today, we are going to be talking about Cougar 1.0 versus Cougar 2.0. Did want to start off with a question though. How many of you actually got to play Cougar 1.0 before they pulled it from the game? So we'll be looking out in chat for those answers. But let's go ahead and start getting into it, Kirk.
Okay. Well, first of all, let's let them think about that, but also everybody who
Mm-hmm.
took the time to come over to the new channel and subscribe and all that. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe, because that way you'll know when we go live with Brian broadcasts and what have you. So by all means, do all that. And as we wait for responses and that, Faye, hello, welcome in.
Welcome.
And then as far as how we're going to go about talking about the Cougar, um, we're going to kind of start in chronological order. And yeah, see, I think the consensus is
Yeah.
not anybody got a chance. It was on and off so
Yep.
quick. So doing the research for this discussion, we actually had talked about this. I probably right about the time we were going to do the podcast. This was like one of our hot button topics,
Yep.
and because neither one of us had any experience with it, we didn't know how to approach this. So one of the things that I had found out through watching other videos and what have you is that when it came out on June 24th, that was a Monday, and they pulled it on the 28th, which was a Friday. I generally only get to play on the weekend, so I didn't even get an opportunity
Yep.
to play with the Cougar. My biggest experience with the Cougar was all with having watched videos on it. The main video being the one that Zach put out because he had early access through doing the play testing for Misery, and he had that Cougar video out like the day it was released. So most of my experience with the Cougar 1.0 at that time was based on videos from him and Thomasina and those that had an opportunity to actually engage with it because it takes like 30 days on Stalker
Yeah.
to even engage with the Cougar. So, I mean, 4 days to have that, you'd pretty much have to be able to stay home and do
Yeah.
nothing but play. So, anyway, your experience with that.
So my experiences, I didn't get to play with 1.0 when it was released either. I was actually out of town at the time. I didn't have access to a computer. I was like not, more than out of town. I was out of state. So, and by the time I got back home, you know, to get on and actually try it, they had already pulled it. So that was essentially my experience. And I think my experience was pretty much the same as Kirk's, where it was just through the other videos that people put out who did manage to get access to it while it was out or in early access while they were playtesting the game.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us based our opinions off what we saw. I mean, I know that when Zach did his first release on it, he had kind of done a very positive spin on it, where other people had did the negatives, and then of course the forums blew up at Hinterland about how just awful this thing was, and they couldn't
Mhm.
hunt it and they couldn't do anything, and so it was just it did start a cornucopia of, squeaky wheels, as I like to call them. It was definitely the people that were able to stay home or younger people
Yeah.
that play, and they got to it before the rest of the community did, and I think they kind of unfairly pulled it quickly. I think they should have
Yeah.
given the rest of the community a chance to play it. But,
Mhm.
yeah, how do you form an opinion on something if you don't even get a chance to play it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way about it, and I mean, at the same time, it's like I didn't even get to form my own opinion on it. I just kinda had to listen to what everyone else's feedback was because I didn't get to experience, so there was a lot of people calling it, like, glorified cabin fever, and I mean, I guess I could see that at the time, and I guess I was kind of in that same boat at the time, be it I didn't get to go into the game. I didn't get to try it, so that's really all I had.
I think that's what a lot of people had. I think a lot of
Mhm.
us all had to formulate an opinion based on the videos that we saw. And, I think depending on who you watched was dependent upon what your opinion was of it. If you watched somebody who
Mhm.
had a negative opinion, you probably kind of fall into that because they showed you that in the same way. Like most of the ones I watched were positive or neutral. My attitude towards it was, I want to see it, and of course,
Mhm.
never got to.
Yep. Yep. And it seems like a lot of people have the same sentiment as we do that, like Pickle Lil. Faye is saying, it's a shame they pulled it. They didn't get to try it. And Silent Shade's also saying, I work a typical Monday through Friday job with sometimes demanding hours, so I never got to try Cougar 1.0 before they pulled it. Why would they pull it before at least giving us one weekend to try it? I completely agree with that. I think they should have left it for 30 days, at least. I think once people got in and they got to experience and try it, that maybe those opinions, all those negative opinions they were saying would have changed. But it's just like, I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah, and
it's a
Silent
shame.
Shade speaks loudly with what my problem is. It's like I don't get a chance to play every night, or
Mhm.
there's other things we're working on, as especially, and you can contest to this, as being content creators. Sometimes I've spent the weekend doing recordings, and during the
Mhm.
week I'm doing my editing, or I'm doing
Yeah.
whatever or something else, and so you never get a chance. It's hard to formulate a decent opinion about something. So yeah, it seems like a lot of us got kind of cornered out of the opinion market based on, I would say, we almost go with the, that 10% that are able to play the game, hardcore, and that
Mhm.
squeaky wheel got the grease, and they pulled it and didn't get, I don't think they got a good polling on it, is my opinion on it. They didn't get a true polling of the community. It was
Yep.
too small a sample size.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, moving us along, so we had this big long period after they pulled Cougar 1.0 and then they released Cougar 2.0. So what were your experiences with that, like trying Cougar 2.0? What did you think of it?
So when Cougar 2.0 came out, and kind of watched the dev diary about it, and how they had changed it and everything, I was a little concerned about um, how it was going to interact with the world.
Mhm.
Wasn't really looking for another predator out in the
Yeah.
loose, but
Yeah.
I was hoping that it would be something that was kind of elusive, even more
Yeah.
elusive than the moose, and that it would be, it would be an occasional hindrance or whatever. So one of my first encounters with it was on a gunloper run that I was doing off record, and I had come out of the gold mine, got in the tactical backpack, and came down the ropes and found myself in the company of the cougar. And I thought, well, I'll just, do like with the moose, I'll just duck down and go around it. No such luck. Can't duck around it. It's got such a huge aggro range that it immediately picked up on me, and it ended that run. Now, because it
Mhm.
was a non-recorded run, and I back up all my saves, of course I was able to go back and rethink how I did that. But it was not the greatest encounter on how to deal with that, because at the point when I did that, I didn't have guns, I didn't have any way to defend myself at that point. It had come in, kind of late in the deal. So I didn't know how to deal with it. It was kind of like running into like a pack of super timberwolves, and
Yeah.
I didn't even have a match to my name, at that point,
Yeah.
to light a fire or do anything. So my first impression was pretty, I don't know, it was not the most flattering, to say the least.
Mhm. Yeah.
And how do you recall your first?
Um So I went about it differently because from a content creator standpoint, like I was doing like a lot of new animal locations and everything like that. So I kind of jumped in on a different save and kind of went at it through, I'm going to, wait for this thing to come in the game. And I had a bug for quite a while. I don't know if anyone remembers this, but I actually couldn't get the cougar to spawn. So I was never able to make that video. And whenever I finally got over that bug, I was finally able to go and test it. I just wasn't that impressed with it, quite honestly. I went with a full arsenal to go and, pretty much test everything. I had a 100% armor rating, so I was fairly safe with it. I took all the different varieties of weapons to kind of test things, what worked on it and what didn't. And I have to say, I wasn't, I don't know. It was, I don't want to say it was disappointing, but it kind of was. Like I was expecting like this super predator that was very elusive and very hard to find, and I don't feel like that's what we got. I don't feel like that was the experience. I felt like I see some people in chat were saying it was like a super wolf, and I kind of almost felt like that's what it was too. It was a bullet soak, and it detects you from so far away, and I absolutely disliked the mechanic where you'd kill one or interact with one, and then you'd have another one pop up somewhere. Like, to me, that took away from the specialness of it, because it's like, it's I refer to it sometimes like stepping on an anthill. You step on one, and then you have another one pop up over here, and then you step on that one, and you have another one pop up over here. And I just like I said, I wasn't too impressed, which actually did actually start to lead me down the route too, is like wondering if people were wrong about Cougar 1.0 as well. Because what I felt like we had now, I didn't it like you said, it just felt like another wolf or a super pack of timber wolves or something along that line.
It was kind of like they took the bear and the wolf and they kind of mashed it together because
Mhm.
you can shoot at it like 20 times and it doesn't do anything. It's
Yeah.
got the aggro range of an aurora wolf and it stalks a certain area, which I don't know. I don't like that idea that it was, a part of the world so prominently. It would have been better if it would have been more elusive. Like if it would have been something you had to stumble upon somewhere in the world unexpectedly and you had to,
Mhm.
you had to defeat it or something. But it just like you said, it just propagated. It just, it's like
Mhm.
multiplied like rabbits. As soon as you got
Yeah.
one, there would be two, and then two to three. It was like pouring water on a gremlin.
Yeah, and the respawn rate for it is crazy. Like, it's almost in line with a wolf, and that doesn't make any sense to me. Um, it's almost like, if it's in an area you want to go through, you have to go and kill it, and you have to go through that area, like, immediately and then vacate because it's gonna be back so quickly.
It's almost too prominent.
Mhm.
It becomes this ominous presence of overpowering,
Mhm.
and you're left with nothing else but to tuck tail and run,
Yeah.
and that. But I mean that's kind of where chat's going with this. And Pickle Lil is saying that it's not a fan of the current popping up system where each time you kill one, it pops up. Yeah, and that's exactly what we're discussing in that
Mhm.
aspect. Um, Faye's saying it would have been cool and unique if they'd had a vulture type predator that would interact differently. Yeah, I could see where that would be an interesting thing. I think that's where the crows play in. Um, the cougar never really impressed me with this new system,
Mhm.
especially after watching all the videos of the 1.0, and it was like it like you, it was driving me to wanting to know what was the first one like.
Mhm.
What how do we figure that out? And
Yeah.
again, thanks to the community and those people that made videos and what have you, when the 2.0 Cougar came out, of course, our wonderful Zach Nafane came out with another 2.0 video, and he made a lot of comparisons about the one to the other as well. And in fact, I kind of watched those last night to refresh my memory and even he, I think, felt tempered with that in those two videos about what this one does versus this one, and I think he even called it a glorified super wolf in
Well,
in
yeah.
in his in his videos too. So that's the other part of when you're watching this stuff and formulating the opinions it comes a lot from, not just your own experiences, but from the community as well. In fact, I watched just one recently. Bash Road came out with one where he kind of went through that whole scenario with that, and some of the things he showed me that I didn't even think about was the cougar at its current state is very cheese. You can cheese it very easily.
Mhm.
It's not.
Campfire.
Yeah, it's not very hard to hunt it. You can kind of, lock it into place with fire. You can climb up on a tree. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. So, and it's like another thing is too about Cougar 2.0. Like, I was so excited about it whenever they released the trailer because I thought it was going to be really cool that it was out and wandering around the world. But I'm not sure how I feel about the way that it's out and wandering around the world. Um,
Yeah, my first
I
thought
was
was that it was gonna be, like, maybe in one map, and
one,
it would
yeah.
be, "Okay, you need to avoid that area because that you're gonna be caught up in a bad situation," or, it's kinda like the threat of going out in an aurora. It's an
Hmm.
event. It's like you make a dangerous choice when you do that. So, I was hoping it was gonna be something more along that lines.
Yep. And I agree. And I mean, especially with Hinterland, like they are so good with working with like scarcity. So, and that was I think that's one of the things that I was kind of taken aback by Cougar 2.0 is that it's in so many different locations in multiple locations in that map. And they kind of moved off of almost that scarcity mindset. And I think that would have been made it really special if the cougar was scarce, you know,
It's
like you
almost
said.
more populous than the moose, and the
I
moose is
know.
elusive as it is.
Yeah.
So, it's in Silent Shade. I've killed a dozen Cougar 2.0s at this point. The first couple encounters were fun, but it becomes annoying, more so than the wolves, in my opinion. It's a Hydra mechanic, and yeah, I can't disagree with that. It is. It's just it's at the point now where I've got it in my current stalker run, but I think if I was to do anything new where it was going to have animals, I think I would almost just turn it off. That's
Mhm.
where I'm at with it. I'm at that point where I'm not really interested in that predator. So
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a shame because the cougar knife, that's such a good knife. That's such a good piece of gear no matter what difficulty you're playing on because it helps you with wolf struggles and it's really good for harvesting frozen meat. Um yeah, it's a shame because like you said the gear and the loot from it's really good, but
but is it
is it
worth it?
worth it?
Yeah, is it
Yeah.
worth it? Do you want to deal with, the whole gremlin thing of you get you kill one, you end up with four. That over multiplication, it's kind of like it becomes this army of cougars, descending, the hills to take over the village.
Mhm. Yeah, well, you can also leave the region too, so I think that's something to point out too, like, if you get those additional cougar spawns, you can leave the region for 5 days, and it'll start to recede back to its original spawn location, but I don't know. I don't know if I like that either. So if I'm in a region and I'm doing something, I don't want to leave that region and wait 5 days and then come back and finish what I was doing.
Yeah, it does. It's like a mechanism to move you along.
Mhm.
It's like, hurry along,
Yeah.
go ahead. You need to get out of here. You've had enough time
Mhm.
here. Go along.
Yep. And Silent Shade is saying, but the sound design is 100% on point for the Cougar, so Hinterland really nailed that naturally. The sound design for Cougar 2.0 is really good. It is. I do agree with that. I'll wait to keep my opinion on that until we get a little bit deeper into the
Yeah.
podcast 'cause I
as we
think
s-
Kirk's
as
gonna.
As we circle around, yeah, we have.
Yeah, as we circle around. But I mean, so what are the things you like about Cougar 2.0? Because I just don't want to sit here and bash it. I mean, there
Um,
are good things about it as well.
the thing that you brought up about the gear is good. I like the fact that in a way, and I'm gonna say this kind of generically in the sense that I like the fact that there is another predator in the game. It gives
Hmm.
you another aspect of trying to survive. I'm not happy with the way it works, but I do appreciate it being there.
Hmm.
My problem is I'm on the fence so much. Like I said, I don't know that I would turn it on if I was going to play, like a gunloper run or not. It would be, I'd have, I don't know, I'd be on the fence about it. I would lean towards not, but
Hmm.
I'm really on the fence about it. Um, I don't know if I have anything really good to say about it. I mean, other than, obviously you can avoid it. I mean, I was in a position had I'd known more about it with my encounters, I could have gone a different direction. I could have walked around it differently, but um I don't it's like forcing you another direction. It's like you can avoid it, so why is it there? It's, you
Yeah.
know, So I can't say anything super good about it other than I do like the loot. I like the idea of it. I
Hmm.
just not sure I like how the replication of multiples and the inability to be stealthy and move around it. Some of those mechanisms are not my favorite at the moment, but I overall, I like it, but I wish they would fix it.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that. I do like that it's like a physical presence in the world. I do like that aspect about it that you can go out and find it and you can see it wandering around. I don't appreciate that it aggroes for you, from like 10,000 yards away. But I mean, it is cool that it's out there in the world and you can hear it, and there's the claw markings and the deer carcasses, and you could sit there and watch it, I guess, if you found a nice little perch to do so from. But I do like that about it, and I do like I was saying, and you were just saying, the loot of it as well.
And that's really probably its strongest lure more than anything is the fact that the loot is worth getting out of it. So yeah, I'm sorry I don't have a lot of positives about it, but
Mhm.
and maybe it's a little bit of lack of understanding. I've only had a few encounters, but uh, those have been, ones that I went and actively, went out to seek out that encounter too in some aspects.
Mhm.
The first one wasn't, but after that, I was actively going out to go encounter it. So, you know,
Yeah.
it was cool in the sense like when you're trying to hunt it and everything, but its movements and its track and all that. It's just I don't know. To me, it should move about a little more. It shouldn't just sit and circle five trees. You
Mhm.
know, I can understand that with the wolves, but I mean, even the bears travel long distances and stuff. You'd think with the cougar in real life, it would be moving about. And I always th-
Yeah.
and I always kind of thought it would be something when they first talked about it, going even back to 1.0, is that my thought was that it would be in like areas where there were mountains where it would like pounce on you, like
Mhm.
a real cougar, because a real cougar is gonna attack you from behind and
Yeah.
pounce on you from up high. So I always thought, oh, Ash Canyon is going to be a pain in the butt because that whole area that didn't have any predators is now going to be
Yeah.
loaded with cougars, and that was where my mind was. So I think some
Same.
anticipation on expectations weren't met either because we all had these wild expectations of what we thought might happen.
Mhm. Yep. I agreed. Yeah, I thought we were gonna have like cougars in the summit, and like you said, that path up to the gold mine in Ash Canyon. I thought there was gonna be cougars there, and I was like kind of a little bit nervous for it, but I don't know. In my mind, that just kind of made sense, like where they would be. But
And it seems to be the consensus. I mean, I'm looking through chat here. Faye just wrote here just a second ago. It's like, I'm gonna say it. I don't like the Cougar. I hope Hinterland updates or reworks it. Yeah, and I think that's kind of what I've been reading in the forums too. It's that they think it's better, but it still needs some touch up. So hopefully, as they work through doing some of these updates and stuff, that they'll
Mhm.
maybe tweak it a little bit. But because they still have to fix um, Coastal Highway yet, so
Yeah. Yep. I know people keep asking me for a cougar video too, but it's like I'm waiting on Coastal Highway to come back, the Coastal Highway cougar, since they're gonna move that all around. I don't know exactly where they're moving it, but I know it's gonna be moved, so waiting on that. And I do hope they fix some of those issues. I know people are saying that they wish they would fix the campfire issue with it as well, but I think you need to have some way to fight it. And if you take the campfire glitch away, if it even is a glitch, then you have like nothing to really defend yourself with. Either because the distress pistol doesn't work, it doesn't care about noisemakers, it doesn't care about this or that. The only thing that works right now is the fire. And I think every animal in the game does have like that weak point. And I think the cougar needs to have a weak point as well, especially if it's going to be in the areas that it's in and there's really no way to avoid it.
yeah, that probably would have. Yeah, I think I agree with that in the sense that you should
Mhm.
have at least a minor defense mechanism
Yeah, something
available
to
to you.
deter it.
Yeah.
Yeah, even like noisemakers, I kind of wish it would be noisemakers would scare it away because it would give them what I feel like is an actual use again because I don't use them, with timberwolves or really anything else, but I would use them for that. So Aaron is saying the noisemakers do damage, at least according to Basharp. Yeah, they do damage, but I wish it would scare it off. So that's kind of what I'm saying. Like I understand that it will do damage, but I wish there was some way to
Kind of act
scare it
like
off.
the pistol does with a wolf. When you fire the
Mhm.
pistol or even the rifle, the wolf will run off. So it would be neat if the cougar would run away, give you some distance, and allow you to get by. Maybe those little
Mhm.
that might be a nice little tweak in that for the deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, cuz like I said, I don't know if the campfire thing is intended or if it's a glitch, and if it's a glitch and they take it away, I think they need to add something else in. Uh yeah, Silent Shade is saying I like the campfire tactic, but they could make the animation less glitchy looking and that could be an improvement, but agree you need some wind tactic. Yeah. Yep, I completely agree with that. I wish it wasn't so glitchy either with the campfire. It's pretty interesting.
And I think part of
So,
the glitchiness might come from the fact that they never originally meant it to be a an in the game predator, an out in the open, be able to watch it predator. So they probably had to scramble to put together those animations between
mhm.
June and December. And as we all know with gaming stuff, sometimes deadlines are hard to keep,
Yeah.
and that so that might be part of it. They may need to be worked out a little better with those animations because if you go back to when they released the game, and this even goes back to watching the videos last night I did. Even Zach, when he was doing some of the beauty shots of the cougar running, he had a hard time doing it because the cougar was never meant to be, running towards you. It was
Mhm.
always meant to be running away from you. So,
Yeah.
when he was explaining having to get some of those shots and everything, I think they had to work and fix all that. So I think that may be where some of the glitchiness might be coming from because that wasn't what they planned. It wasn't what their original deal was. So.
Mhm. Yeah, and Mary is asking if 2.0 has a den like 1.0 did, and no. Nope, no den with 2.0, which is a shame. In the Shade is saying, talk about a tense moment when you go for the campfire tactic and the wind kicks up right after you've made the cougar mad. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, I could yeah. Yeah, that would be a scary moment for sure.
Well, that's the same intense moment that you would get with even a bear.
Mhm.
in the same way. Yeah.
Yep.
And Valcono, and I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing a name wrong. Wish it was more of an ambushy, silent alpha predator. Using yourself as bait was such a cool idea. Yeah, that's what I was thinking it would be. Going back to talking about, like Ash Canyon, I thought it would be one of those things where you might hear it a little bit and might get some kind of clue that it was in the area, but you just didn't know that it was going to jump down from a rock and become a problem for you. So that was the thing I was kind of anticipating with the first iteration, and was kind of hoping that was what they were going to do when they were going to fix it. I was hoping it was going to be elusive, it was going to be rare, and it was going to be, kind of a like it was going to be something you didn't catch, all the time. You may be
Uh-huh.
looking in the wrong direction.
Yep. Um, I'm gonna butcher your name, and I do apologize, but Zirkus, also as Bastrop covered, dens in 1.0 were probably very bugged and were doing the opposite of what they are meant to, which is funny. Yeah, I did watch that video as well, and that was pretty funny that, um yeah, it made it, quite difficult to actually go and destroy the den because the moment you tried to destroy the den, the cougar would instantly jump you.
What you didn't know is the den had a surveillance system, and the cougar got a page. He got a text
Right?
message to say his den was on fire and he needed to
Yeah,
come home right away.
ADT. They called him. They let him know.
Your house is being burglarized. Quick, come home.
One of your motion detectors have gone off. Um, so I thought before Zirkus, I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, but I thought before we saw any version of the kitty that it was going to be very much like we had already gotten in the hunted bear or the dark walker. It's just out there and it's going to get you eventually. That would be cool too. Yeah. um, so yeah, I guess we should take this full circle and let's talk about going back to try Cougar 1.0 because that came out with a video about him trying to get the badge. And within that video, he showed a way where you could go to SteamDB. Well, he referenced a video by the Deadpool who showed you going to SteamDB and how you could roll back the game. So, Kirk and I actually both did that. Do you want to talk a little bit about your first experience with the Cougar
Yeah,
while
we can
doing
kind
it?
of so for anybody that didn't get an opportunity
Mhm.
to enjoy the first Cougar, there is a way to roll back the clock, and it is not through time capsule. You can't do it through time capsule, but you can, if you go and watch Zach's video about him uh, earning the Cougar badge, and it was a really good video about how all that came about. And he has a link to a video by the Deadpool on how to go to Steam database, and you can download older versions of The Long Dark. You can go back, I think, as far back to even when it was in early alpha,
Mhm.
if you go far enough. So you can actually go back and get deals. And so we won't spend a whole lot of time on that. This is just to kind of give you background as to how we did this and why this subject was able to be talked about in a little better light, because at this point in time, Jitwire and I have had multiple encounters with Cougar 1.0 due to this
Mhm.
little Steam database thing. So we'll leave links to like all the videos we're referencing, including Bash Robes and the ones that Zach have done, so that you
Yep.
guys can go see them. And then that link to that one will lead you over to the Deadpool's video of how to do this. Now, you won't be able to do it if you're on console. This is only going to be for computers. And
Yep.
the one thing I will say, and this is just to be, very upfront, if you're not comfortable with messing with folders in your games, or if you're concerned about losing a save or any of that kind of stuff, make sure that you feel comfortable doing this kind of stuff before you engage in going down this rabbit hole. Make sure you understand how to
Mhm.
back up your files to where they're safe. Make sure you're comfortable about messing with your save files and all that other stuff. This is you kind of trip you kind of are walking in to an area that you can really make a mess of things. So make sure you're
Yep.
comfortable doing it. So at any rate, to go back to what you were saying, her and I, as we were talking about this discussion, and that was right about the time when Zach came out with this video, and we got this opportunity. It was like, oh my goodness, we can go experience it and then actually have
Mhm.
something to talk about, because all we could talk about was 2.0 and videos about 1.0. But now we can actually go and experience 1.0 and have a better understanding of what we got, avoided. We weren't able to experience it.
Yeah.
So we went through this process, and there's a lot of steps to it, and it took some time. And between the two of us, we managed to get it working, and Jitwire was able to get us to a point where we could have these encounters and that, and we were recording them and sending them back and forth to each other, like, oh, check this out, check this out. So
Mhm.
my very first encounter with the first Cougar 1.0 um, was such a dramatic event over anything that the 2.0 Cougar was. The only thing that was cool about the 2.0 Cougar was that animation you would get, like when the Cougar was in the area. That part is cool. They should keep that if they do any
Mhm.
changes. But the thing that was so um, immersive with the first one was, as you're walking around, and the game's telling you, okay, the cougar's in your area, and you've got that little icon in the corner, and you're walking around, and the whole time you're walking around, this very powerful war drum type music is playing, and you can hear all these ambient sounds of the cougar, and you think you hear footsteps, and you're just looking around. You're like, your head's on a swivel, and from watching the videos, you're never going to see it, but you're still looking, because the
Mhm.
the noises pull you. And so I figured, okay, let's light a fire. I need to feed the character and everything, and I'm sitting at the fire and suddenly get pounced. And it was such a dramatic and amazing event. And luckily enough, and I have to thank Jitwire for this, she had set up this save that we both used ahead of time for these encounters, and we were well armed and armored. We had the ballistics vest, and we had all kinds of stuff. So I mean, kudos to her. She was able to spend time to get us into this position. So I went ahead and I attempted to kill the cougar, and you get that little animation at the end where you're kind of you're woozy and what have you. You get that one last shot, and I managed to kill it with the rifle. And afterwards, I was just like, I was so amazed and so just drawn in by the whole event. And it was like I couldn't type to her fast enough. Oh, you're not going to believe this. Da, 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 da.
Mhm.
And that's how exciting it was. I was so excited to share that with her, because we were trying to get to this point so that we could have this conversation. So it was so much more intense than what goes on now. So much more drama, and just more fearful, more creepy. It was just an amazing thing that happened. Even though it was so deadly and so vicious,
Mhm.
it was an event.
Yeah.
It was, it had all this build up with the music and all that, and then it crescendo to this massive event. And
Yeah.
I'll let you just. I mean, I'm going to gush about it because I thought it was so cool. But and thank
Mhm.
goodness to learning how to save files and what have you. We were backing up our saves before
Yeah.
the encounter so that we could go back to that save and then go back out into the world and re-engage it. And I've got a ton of footage that I recorded after that. So maybe we can put something together for the channel and kind of show some of the background on this if you guys would like to see it. But
Yeah.
I'm going to let you talk a while and let you, because your first encounter also probably was pretty intense.
Yeah, mine was a little bit different. So, and also the music that was begin at the beginning of the podcast, if any of you heard that, that's actually the music that would play whenever the cougar came into your region. Um, so I will say the one thing that I didn't really like about Cougar 1.0 was the message that you got saying the cougar was in the region. I don't think that was needed because this really cool thing happens whenever the cougar comes into the region. The rest of the wildlife vacates. So if you're just walking along and the bear's there and the cougar enters your region, everything starts running. All of the wolves, all of the bears, all of the deers, and eventually everything despawns. There's no other wildlife in the region, just you and the cougar with this amazing score that they made. And I don't even know where this score went. Like, it's not on 2.0 at all. And the music's beautiful, it's captivating, and you have these noises of like the cougar hissing, and you have like sticks breaking like behind you. So even though you know it's not going to jump up and attack you, you still stop and you look anyways. It's just like an experience that completely pulls you in. And I actually wandered around the region for almost like a week, to the point where those sounds, they stopped getting me and I kind of started getting used to them. So I wasn't looking as frequently, and I was kind of lulled into the sense of complacency with it almost. And then I was actually approaching the derailment in Mystery Lake, and like I said, I was just like, I don't know where this thing is. Maybe it's bugged. Maybe, and then boom, it hit me, and it was just, excuse me, it was such an intense experience, and I don't know. So it's just, it was a completely different feeling versus what we have now, and not really sure about the kind of like wobbly trying to shoot it as it runs away, but everything before that point is just, it's spot on. It was spot on and it was so dang good. And
I think
yeah.
one of the things that I was mesmerized by was the bear running. I was
Mhm.
I we were in Mystery Lake. You're up by No Name Pond where that little cave that cabin is, and
Mhm.
I was by. Usually, there's a deer that's over in that little meadow where the rabbits are, and that's where I had the fire built. And the thing that I noticed was I could hear the bear doing that scream it does when it runs away, especially when you play. If you remember Pilgrim, or if you play Pilgrim, you know when you get up to the bear and it does that and it runs away and
Yeah.
it was doing that, and I was like, "What is going on? Why is this bear running around?" And that's when it clued in on me. And then the music, like you said, it's just beautiful drum laden music, and
Mhm.
yeah, that was what was weird was all the animals running.
Yeah. Yeah, but it added to the experience. Like, it's like, oh gosh, like the big boss is here. The true apex predator is coming. um But gonna look at chat here really quick. So Faye is saying it frustrates me that Hinterland put so much work into Cougar 1.0 and they just pulled it because of a few players complained. Yeah, I mean, I feel that as well. I definitely really feel that, especially after getting to go and try it. Um, Kind of breaks my heart a little bit, quite honestly, that they pulled it from the game.
And don't get me wrong. Now that I've had the experience, I don't think that 1.0 was perfect.
No.
1.0 has its problems. Like what Jitwire was saying, that little deal at the end where you get this one shot to kill it.
Mhm.
Okay, you know, that's a little strange. Um, okay, but I get it. It's how they planned it. And the thing with the den, like, you know, this is weird that it's got a hotline and it knows to come back and kill you when you're trying to get rid of the
Mhm.
den and things like that. So it wasn't perfect by any stretch of the means. So don't let that fall into what we're describing. What we're describing is that it is such a dramatic encounter
Mhm.
that it's something that is hard to explain. I'm hoping that between the two of us, we can put together maybe a little compilation or whatever, and we'll put it here on the channel
Yeah.
of these little tests that we did. In fact, I got some without the HUD and everything, so it's very it translates pretty good. But yeah, that part of it, just so that everybody knows, it's not like we're gushing over 1.0 as being this perfect over 2. Just the event itself happening was just a much more um, exciting and exhilarating thing that happened.
Yeah. Yeah, 1.0 definitely had its issues, but I would say, like, 2.0 coming into the game versus 1.0 coming into the game, I would definitely say I prefer 1.0 hands down because like I said, it was an immersive experience.
Yeah, if I had to
So,
choose between the 2, I'd have to say that I agree. I would rather have the
mhm,
first one over the second one. Going into the chat, Volcano says 1.0 was unique as um, close to a late game boss as you could get in the TLD, and I'm sad that it's been changed so much. And again, yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. That it was kind of like it was kind of like, all right, you're the ruler of the land, and now I'm coming in to take back my property. And so it was like the cougar descended upon the game and was going to assert itself.
mhm,
And that's what that whole thing. I think that whole the workup with the music and all that. I think that's what it felt like. It felt like this was the entering of the ultimate challenge. It was going to be you and it.
mhm. Absolutely. And Aaron is saying, I hate the idea that it spawns on top of you and you basically have to get severe lacerations in order to kill it. So, yeah, that's kind of where I start to deviate with Cougar 1.0. I wish there was like a split second before it pounces you that you could shoot it. So you wouldn't have to get the severe lacerations. Or maybe the first time you encounter it, it's always going to pounce on you and you're going to get severe lacerations. And then after that, you have more ample chances to shoot it and kill it before it attacks you.
And this kind of lays into what we were saying, is that it's not perfect. It definitely needed
Mm-mm.
some tweaks and stuff, but it was definitely more of an event than it was with the 2.0. It signified something is changing in the game, and that's what was so cool about it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And Silent Shade was saying, sounds like you got more than plenty of warning, though, if you didn't want those afflictions from encountering it, so you could easily avoid it. Yeah, and it kind of puts you in the same boat that you were now. You had, on Stalker, you had 30 days in the region before the cougar spawned. So if you left at any time, even just for a little bit of time, if you left that region before that 30-day timer kicked in, you would never even see the cougar. And I think most people, the way they play, I don't unless you're doing, like, region survival or something like that, I don't think most people typically sit in a region for that long unless it's, like, super late game. But at that point, you're kind of, prepared to handle the cougar. But then, once the cougar arrives, if you leave again for 5 days, then it goes away and you can go back to that region. So we're still in this kinda, like, 5-day thing for either cougar where the first one you leave and you don't have to deal with it at all until the next 30 days, or you leave and it recedes back to one spawn location.
Yeah, it's again, it wasn't perfect, but there was more elusiveness about it than
Mhm.
in the first one. And you get plenty of warning. I mean, the game will sit there and say the cougar's arriving in so many days, and it seems kind of funny that you're getting this, uh, day planner schedule of when, like, he's moving in,
Mhm.
and that kind of thing. But there's plenty of warning. It's like you're getting plenty of warning that it's happening. I think the warning system would have been cooler if it would have been more visual and audible. Like like the first stage would have been, you see things on the trees and that, or the ravaged carcasses, and then maybe it went to the sounds, and you knew that every step you'd have to figure out each step instead of this being this blatant clock ticking down in the corner. It was more of a, you needed to figure out when, claw marks and sounds turned into, the silent attack.
Mhm. Yep. And Phobic is saying he has a video on his channel with his encounter of 1.0. Yeah, if you want to share that link, it would be much appreciated. Um, so after the podcast, maybe people can go and check that out as well.
Yeah, we definitely want to see people, get a chance to experience it and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
again, if you have the comfort level to do it, I highly recommend you take the time and go to Deadpool's video and go show
Yeah.
how to do it, because it's worth it. It's definitely worth it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So looking at chat more, so M00 or Moo, you mean to say out of nowhere it's going to spawn on top of me. So yeah, Cougar 1.0 would spawn pretty much right on top of you. Yeah, you'd have no chance to shoot it before it attacked you. Which again, I think is an issue, and I can get why a lot of people didn't like that part about it.
Yeah, it was kind of like a no warning blindsided attack.
Hmm.
And so that part of it may have needed some tweaking for sure. I've got my own take on that I'll share as we get towards the end of the discussion here. But yeah, there's definitely tweaks on both 1.0 and 2.0, and I think there could be some borrowing of ideas from both ends. But yeah,
Hmm.
it definitely was something you didn't matter what you were doing. You just all of a sudden you could be walking, you could be crouched down, you could be making food. It didn't matter. If it was going to attack you, the RNG said, "Okay, this is your time. This is when it
Hmm.
happens."
Yep. Um, And Silent Shade is saying, I wish they'd leave Cougar 2.0 in Centered Pass, but make all the other regions get Cougar 1.0 if you stay too long. That's actually a really good idea. That would be a really good idea to kind of combine the both of them. So, like, it's naturally in like Centered Pass or one of those really mountainous regions, which makes sense for it to be there. And then it would kind of expand out if you sit in another region for too long. That's a cool idea. I like that.
I think they should have done that also with the summit instead of the
Hmm.
the wolf pack that's up there that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Generally the wolves wouldn't be able to get up there in that situation, but the cat would. So it would make going to the summit early something you want to do. Like you want to get this going, or you're going to have to deal with the cat up there. That might be an interesting way. So that, little things like that would have made
Hmm.
it more exciting, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and Silent Shade is also saying the Hydra mechanic of 2.0 in Centered Pass is perfect and how it blocks major paths to safety works well there. Yeah, I could see that as well. So,
And Hans is saying they think the devs should combine 1.0 and 2.0 and focus on the den more. Yeah, the den has its issues too, and that's kind of where my thought process is going to with the um and that. Hey, Jitwire, can you take over for a second? I got to do something here
yep,
real quick.
yep, no problem. So, Hans, so yeah, I think there's things that they could take from 1.0 and 2.0 to kind of combine them. And we would probably end up with the perfect cougar, to be honest. So, it's like I like the intensity and the immersion of 1.0. And I do like that 2.0. Like I said, I like that it's out in the world. I do like that about it. So, and Phobic says, and it's worth it. I agree. I wrote in detail on a post on the forum how 1.0 could be tweaked, etc. So that'd be cool. I'd be interested in seeing that post as well. Maybe if you can send me a link to it. Like I said, I'd really like to I just like to see other people's opinions on, and a lot of people come up with good ideas.
Yeah, and part of that too is the fact that, um, just so people as they're listening to all this is that the whole idea of the podcast is to be very community oriented. So we definitely want to promote and share and do all
Mhm.
that stuff. So if you've got people that have stuff that we haven't seen, then we've got it.
Yep. And Faye is saying Cougar 1.0 plus you glimpse it at the periphery of your shot a few times before it attacks. Yeah, that would be a really cool feature to add on. I mean, even if you couldn't, um, actually shoot it while it does that, that would be cool. That would make it feel like it's more in the world versus like this phantom thing just coming to attack you out of nowhere. But I do think it would be better if you did have the chance to, shoot 1.0 before it actually pounced you. So does anyone else have like any more ideas on how the Cougar could be improved, even 1.0 or 2.0 or kind of merging the two? And Silent Shade is saying also, if you have a noisemaker in your inventory with Cougar 1.0, then give a chance to scare it before you get into a struggle and turn it into 2.0. We need to give noisemakers a purpose. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like noisemakers out there are they've kind of really lost their purpose. I know you can use them for the Timberwolf packs, but
Okay, well, we've been talking about his videos for a little bit here, but I
mhm.
don't know of a better person to give us an opinion on the Cougar than the person who gave us the first video on 1.0. So,
Yep.
everyone, I would love to introduce to you Zach Nafane from Zach TV.
Yep.
Hey,
Welcome.
hello.
Welcome aboard, Zach.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
welcome.
Can you hear me okay and
You
everything?
are perfect.
You're
Oh, that's
perfect.
good. How are you two doing? I've been kind of listening to some of it, but I didn't catch all of it.
We
That
were
was
kind
good.
of going full circle because the
Mhm.
original Cougar was in and out so quickly. We didn't get an
Yeah,
opportunity to experience it other than with videos like from you and some of the other people out there that did, and then they yanked it so quickly. And then we were discussing some of the things we like and don't like about the second iteration, and then coming full circle on it, the video you just recently did on the badges and that led us to the ability to use Deadpool's database thing and actually experience Cougar 1.0 and have a true opinion on it. So, seeing how you're a little late to the conversation,
yeah,
nonetheless, we appreciate you being here. And so, why don't you give us your take on Cougar 1.0 and 2.0?
yeah, sure. And you might. I have a baby monitor here, so if you hear something weird and then I disappear, you know what's going on. But,
Absolutely.
uh, um, Yeah, no, it's an interesting issue. I do think that, I mean, I'm one of those people who I guess tried Cougar 0.9 or something, but they did
Mhm.
change it after I tried it. But I think, you know me, I missed, Long Dark Souls, so we don't change anything. But Cougar 1.0 should probably have been longer in the game. People didn't really get a chance to try it. I mean, the video I had where I talk about the badge is also partially because of that, uh, because I had no reason to think they would pull it. I planned to basically get that badge like on my interloper run eventually, but then I gave up on that. And then I killed a bunch of cougars and other saves and this and that. And then suddenly they pulled it. It was actually, I found out about it because the four of us who were playtesters had our own Discord, and then I think it was Thomasina who said something like, "Posted, oh, we're on Unreal, they pulled it." I couldn't believe how fast it was, and I get that they took the feedback to heart, but
Mhm.
it was a bit too fast. You don't have enough time to really test it that quickly, unfortunately. So that's a bit regrettable. I think that it was so quick. They should
Yeah,
have
we
left it a
we
bit
kind of felt
longer.
like they got like like a very small polling size to have made that decision. Like it was
Mhm.
too small of a sample size.
Yeah, exactly. You don't really get a strong feel for it, especially because of how long it takes to trigger it. I, of course, encountered it on certain special saves, and some were on mods and some were on vanilla ones. But some people never even got a chance to play it before it was pulled, and it's a bit fast. But I think also my video that when I made, which I made during early access, probably unintentionally helped fuel that, because even though I had a largely positive spin to the Cougar, I kind of liked Cougar 1.0. It nevertheless introduced everyone to how it worked before they had a chance to try it themselves. So if that
Mhm.
video was never made, there's a possibility that it would have been held longer, because it would take longer for a general public to try it out. But instead, that video got whatever 100,000 views or something, and a lot of people say, "Oh, is that what the Cougar is? Okay, it sucks." So without actually trying it, like a lot of people I think didn't like without even trying it, which is a big difference. So that's a bit of a shame, but not that maybe it had no difference. I don't know, but
Mhm.
it's a shame they pulled it. I did like the old one. I get it though, and I do kind of think the new one is better. But what I really liked about the old one was that you had the sense of dread all the time. You didn't really know when it was going to come, and it made the rewards feel more unique, because the Cougar claw and the hat felt like you really had to risk everything to get it. Because on the Interloper especially, if you got attacked by the Cougar twice, you were just dead. Like there was no way around it unless you popped like 2 stims in a row,
Mhm.
because it was possible for you to get attacked by it, fail to kill it, and before you could go to safety, it attacks again, and then it doesn't matter, you're just dead. So that meant that you had to really calculate whether it was even worth it getting these things, which made the Cougar really rare and the rewards really rare. But now with Cougar 2.0, the rewards are pretty common. It's equivalent to hunting a moose also. And they even buffed it. The Cougar hat is even stronger than it was 1.0. So the rewards are easy to obtain and they're better, which is unfortunate. It doesn't feel as special anymore,
Mhm.
unfortunately. There's a lot to say more about, but I'm feeling I do all the talking right now.
We're letting you play catch up.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I think that's kinda what I was saying about 1.0 too. Like, I really like how 1.0 comes into the game. Like, it feels very dramatic. It feels like an experience. All the other wildlife vacates. You have this amazing score playing in the background that's like these war
Oh yeah,
drums. And I think that's a much more immersive experience versus what we have with 2.0.
yeah. That's true. It's more. You have no clue when it's going to attack or anything.
Mhm.
That was pretty good. Oh, let's
Mhm.
see. So I did like I changed the volume a little bit. Is this better? I felt like it was a bit low. Um, just let me know if I'm too low or too
No,
high
you're
when I'm
good.
changing. Okay.
You're good.
What I liked about the first one is that it's easily preventable. You just don't stay in the region long enough. It's unlikely you'll be like, oh damn, the cougars in 5 days. I better craft this thing fast enough. It's easy enough
Mhm.
to avoid. But then once it's in the region, it's kind of your bad that it's in the region. So the fact that it strikes you out of nowhere is a risk you're kind of prepared to take, I guess. You're not going to surprisingly run into the cougar. So
Mhm.
I really like that sense of dread. The noise is all around you and just pounces on you, and you basically it's sort of like the enemy is going to attack, and what you are doing is preparing for the attack. That's what you're
Mhm.
doing. All that being so, I really liked it, but all that being said, though, I do understand the main criticism that it really should be a physical presence, either somewhere that you find in the world, or that when it attacks, I mean, it was an easy fix, really. You could just have Cougar 1.0, and instead of it pouncing you instantly, there's like a 5 second gap or something where you can
Mhm.
actually react. There was several comments that I agreed that one way to do it is if you know the cougars around you, there will be a small window to react. When that window is big enough, that you can shoot the Cougar if you already have the weapon equipped, but not if you have to equip it. So you get alerted, and then the character turns around or whatever, and you can see it, but you have to be really, really fast, because then you can actually stop the attack. So I understand that criticism that there wasn't an opportunity to prevent it other than just
Mm-hmm.
doing the region. So I get that. It was a bit surprising that they pulled it, but it's a shame. I did like the first one. There are good things about the second one too, but there are some things that have been weird about it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Might have been interesting if they would have done something kind of like, when you're close to the bear and the bear rears up and roars at you.
Yeah,
Maybe that could have been like an event with the cat, like a certain roar or a sound, and then you got this charge at you. And like you were talking about, Zach, with it getting that few seconds to react. And
yeah,
if you had the weapon out, then you could react to it, and you had that little tiny window. That would that would probably cure some of that, spawn on top of you uh, dislike that was part of that.
yeah. That would have been quite good. I know also some people wanted it to kind of like jump from cliffs and rocks and that sort of thing, but
That was kind of
I never.
my anticipation. I was thinking that it was going to be up in Ash Canyon and you'd be going to the gold mine and it would jump, leap down on you.
Yeah, I never thought that would happen just because of the sheer logistics of programming that. Because unless there was
Mm-hmm.
some sort of cutscene in X places, you would never. Or maybe it's possible. I don't know how to program it, but yeah, I can't see how that would be easy to program an animal to do that in the long dark without being super glitchy, going down rock faces and things. So
Yeah.
I never thought that would happen. Uh, so but I did think that it would be. I tried to guess where it's going to be. I think in a video I actually did say where I thought it was going to be. I can't remember where that was, but most of the guesses were wrong because the Cougar 1.0 didn't even work like that. So there
They
were a
surprised
mixture
all
of
of us with that.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes me and the other play testers got some flack. It didn't happen very often, but a couple of comments like, "Oh, well, how come they approved this?" Well, we weren't play testers for the Cougar; we were play testers for Misery, and then it was a few days before launch. They sent us basically the package of everything. Said, "Here you go," and then basically they said, "If you have feedback for the Cougar, welcome to hear it." But even if I had said, "Oh, hey, this Cougar thing, oh God, you got to change it. It's terrible. Don't launch it." Like they're not gonna 4 days before launch or something say, "Oh, okay, we'll change the whole thing then." So
Mm-hmm.
so I gave feedback to Cougar 1.0, but I focused more on the mechanics of it because with Misery, I wrote a lengthy report, which I would love to share with you, but I would have to talk to Internet about it, where I spoke about here's what's good about it, here's what's bad about it, here's how you can improve it, here's how I think the community is going to react. And I was almost 100% correct with that. But when I got the Cougar, I mostly gave feedback in terms of like how the mechanics worked. And one thing I focused on was that it was like almost impossible to kill it with a bow and that sort of thing. Um, but it was I still really liked the Cougar because of that sense of dread and unease and the uh, risk reward calculation you had to do when you encountered it, because you could get really good rewards from it, but it was a really high risk to encounter it. So I really liked that. So I wish there was something in between. There are a lot of ways you could fix it. Me, I'm always reluctant to suggest changes to this game, but
Yeah.
like one way you could fix it is do something like the Cougar is a physical presence, but it's only in X amount of places in the world. Like really, it's really rare, like maybe 3 regions in the world or something. And then as you stay in a region too long, it starts migrating from its spawn region towards you. And then when it comes into that region, it is physically in that region, but you can still get pounced. If you the longer you stay, the more chance it is it pounces you like Cougar 1.0. Something like that could work. There's just one thought though. I mean, I think there's like 15 different ways to fix it. If they even are going to fix it, they might just say, "Nah, it's fine this way." Who
Mm-hmm.
knows? I don't know. Like, would you guys like to have it fixed, or do you think it's like? Do you think they are gonna change it? I know that there's bugs like coastal highway and all that stuff, but In terms of the core mechanics, do you think they are actually going to change it?
I wish they would. I think my biggest issue with 2.0 right now is its presence in the world. Like, it feels like a moose is more rare than the cougar right now, because you attack one and then you get an additional spawn in that region. You attack that one, you get an additional spawn. So I think that takes away from the specialness of it whenever you have that kind of mechanic there and it's so frequent. So kind of like you were saying, I'd like to see it in like maybe a couple regions or maybe even one region. And maybe the longer you're in a region, it starts to move towards you. I think that would be really good. Um, as far as if they're going to fix it though, I'm not really sure. I hope they
No.
do, but I don't know if they will.
One thing I did not like about the old version, I don't think I ever explicitly said it. I guess I hinted at it in the first video, is that I thought it was very strange that there's only one Cougar Den in the world.
Mhm.
So if you have the Cougar Den in Hashru Valley and you're in Desolation Point and the Cougar spawns in the region, then if you want to get rid of it, you have to then go to Hashru Valley, destroy the nest, and then go back. By the time you've done that, you've probably been out of the region for so long the cougar's gone anyway, right?
Mhm.
I thought that was kind of strange. I thought there would be like one nest per whatever quarter region or something. I don't know. That was kind of, I'm not sure what the thought process
Yeah.
was behind that.
Yeah, or the nest appears in the region that it's active in. So I guess they could have the nest appear whenever, 1.0 moves into that region. That would make sense to me too. Like that would be a way to get rid of it before it attacks you. So it's like a race to find the den.
We were also
That'd be cool.
making fun of the fact that when you started using the noisemakers on the den, how the cougar got an immediate call from its den that it was being attacked.
Yeah.
It was it was like it like the den was able to give the cougar a phone call and it was rushing home.
Yeah. I thought that was, I think it was Bash, no, or Kimiota, like threw an icebreaker and the instant it hit, he got pounced
Yeah, he
on.
got pounced. And it's like
Mhm.
what the heck?
Why? How did that happen? Now that was the other cougar,
Yeah.
so it's I don't with Cougar 2.0. I think it's all right. Like it's a super moose really, since it doesn't bleed out, but it's immune to almost everything except for campfires. You can cheese it with torches. That was a fun discovery.
That was a fun one.
That was a fun one. But and it's the raw version is just insane. Like it sees you across the map. So it's kind of like a super moose with wolf mechanics, I guess. Which it's okay. The whole territory expansion thing is a bit odd because you aggro it. Bashrob had the details on it. You can just shoot at it and still expands, but let's ignore that. Let's just say you kill it and then another one comes across. That's a bit strange. I think it should work the other way around. I think that if you're in a region and then the cougar triggers, so if you're on day whatever, then the cougar is triggered globally, right? But if you're in a region that has the cougar, what would make more sense to me is that if you don't address the cougar in the region, it then expands its territory like every 10 days or whatever, right? Until it reaches those 3 spawn points it usually has in the region. If you then kill any of those cougars, they don't respawn again, only the initial one respawn. Or if you leave the region, they dwindle back to its original one. That would be more in line with the philosophy of the first one, I feel, the Cougar 1.0. It's kind of odd that engaging it expands it. It's kind of like that
Mhm.
evil planet in the Fifth Element, when they shoot it, it gets bigger.
Yeah.
So it's
That's a
It's a
good
just
good
reference.
analogy.
Yeah. Yeah.
that's an offhand reference for you. So there's I get the thought process. I understand what they're saying is basically, the cougar is deadly. If you leave it alone, it'll be fine. It won't aggro you either. But if you antagonize it, it will expand. And I think even though they are 3 different cougars, I think the idea is that it's effectively the same cougar. It's just kind of hunting you. I think that's what
Mhm.
the thought process is here. But it's kind of odd because especially if you're not a veteran hardcore player, you then kill the cougar. Say, oh yes, I got the cougar. Now I can make the thing in her. And then you walk home and oh wait, there's a second cougar. Where did you come from? So it's a bit of a strange design choice. Like I get the intent behind it, but it just doesn't quite match the philosophy of it. I think it should be the reverse, really.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I kind of likened it to the movie Gremlins, and you pour the water on the back and they multiply. It's just it
Yeah.
seems a little silly that that they would just multiply like rabbits and stuff. My hope
Yeah,
was that it would be, now that I've experienced both of them with doing the old build, and that I love the dramatic part of the first attack, and I think if I was to change it, I would leave that first attack in. Maybe not make it as vicious with the lacerations and what have you, but make it more like a bear attack, and then that's your introduction to the cougar. It's just like, I'm
mm,
here, this is me,
yeah,
and I'm going to be a problem for you. And then
yeah,
now he's out in the world, and then he's like the moose. He may spawn in Ash Canyon, and he's there for a couple of days, and he's only out for a short period of time, and he moves about a little more. Make it a much more rarer event. And like you said, they've kind of taken this beautiful loot that you get from it, and they've made it really easy to get. Whereas it
yeah,
should be difficult, it should be risk to reward. And now, like, let's say you go hunt this cougar, you got to go find him, kind of like what you were discussing in your video in here about what if um, you have to travel from Desolation Point all the way to, Hush River Valley. It's a long walk. So you got to find the
yeah,
cougar. He's rare. He pops up in different places for a few days, making it a much bigger event. And then you have that risk. Maybe that's when you get the lacerations and you're going to have this encounter. So I think they could kind of take some of the good parts about the first one and put some of the second in there, and make this more of an apex predator that
mm,
your first encounter is just. And that was the thing that blew me away, was the music and the sound effects, and that
yeah.
whole
Yeah,
first thing was such a just this beautiful, amazing, scary event. And then it's the music's gone. We had to go back and find it to put it in with the
yeah,
the video here that we did. So yeah, I think that part would be a way to introduce the cougar to the whole game. And now the cougar
yeah.
is everywhere, and you just don't know where it's going to spawn and whether you're going to have the encounter.
Yeah, that's true. I really like the first encounter too. When I actually had my first encounter in the early access, there was a bug where the cougar noises didn't play. So the whole ambient noise that you heard around there, that wasn't working. And also when it attacked you, it didn't have any noise. But that was a bug, and I didn't know that. So
The
I just
silent
walked around and
predator.
yeah, I just heard the music and it's like, okay, the cougar's around. Then I got attacked and I was like, oh god, oh that was terrifying. And then I wrote like some feedback. I got attacked a few times through this special save that they gave us, and then I wrote some feedback. Yeah, this is pretty good and so on and whatever. And then after I sent them that, I started working on the video, and then I think they had soft patches or something because they did patch it actually in early access as well, which is why in my Sundered Pass video I died because it was too cold in the cabins, but that wasn't the case when they launched it. And then it turned out that was a glitch, and I went out again. So wow, this whole time there had been noises around me that I just couldn't hear. And once I discovered,
Mhm.
like, wow, it makes it even more terrifying. I guess I was a little bit miffed, I suppose, that noises they're really terrifying in 1.0, but they're also kind of random. Like if you go, say, a good example is if you go to Forsaken Airfield and you go out in the open ice, you can see everything from miles away, and then you can hear twigs snapping to your left, and then there's a growl to your right, and it doesn't feel like that will be a natural stalking thing for cougar,
Mhm.
going 360 around you on the open ice and you just can't see it. So that was a little bit weird, but I'm not sure there's a
That would
way
be a bit
around that.
immersion breaking, yeah, in that,
Yeah.
like maybe hearing the footsteps. I love the footstep thing,
Yeah,
but yeah, I could see where that would kind of break the immersion.
yeah, they
Mhm.
threw in that little meow as well.
Can everyone hear Zach better now? I know Faye said a little while ago his volume was low.
And I am been
Is
tweaking the volume in the background, just FYI.
yeah,
All right,
so
low
if
voice
anyone
anyway.
Yep. But yeah, we have definitely had a ton of good ideas today of how 1.0 and 2.0 could be
Yeah,
improved. I do like the idea, like I said, making it more scarce because I think the gear you get from it, it's really great gear, but I think it's too easy to get. Um,
yeah, it is. Yeah,
yeah.
especially if you know how to do it. It's like uh, I stopped doing things as thoroughly as testing wise as say Bastrop does, but the way to figure things out is always the same for me. Like whenever you count something new, you just kind of let it happen. Like the day that I thought interlope was became easy was the day that I walked up to a wolf and I just stood there and let it attack me, because
Mhm.
you always panic. Oh god, a wolf, run away! So I thought, well, let's just stand here and see what happens. Okay, now let's just stand here with a torch and see what happens. And then you just did it, and eventually you clocked how the wolves work. And with the cougar, it's the same. Like the first time, I'm like, oh wow, this thing can sprint from across the map, and there are serrations and so on. But once you sort of clocked the cheesiness of it, I guess
Mhm.
it stops being terrifying, and it's more of a I guess it's still kind of dangerous in the sense that like you don't want to casually wander through cougar territory, but if you have to encounter it and you're prepared, it's not really a big deal. You can just dodge it. Even, I'm not sure you saw how I did. I just used the tree stump to dodge
I
it.
was
Mhm.
that was one of my
Yeah.
merch ideas. I wanted to get the character of you hiding behind the tree stump.
Yeah, tree
Yeah.
stump, the new Wilson. It was
Yeah.
so it's it's pretty predictable. You can still die from it. It's definitely more dangerous than a wolf. Well, I'm not sure actually. Wolf and antelope can kill you in one hit, kind of thing. But
Mhm.
yeah, once you clock it, it's not too hard. While the old cougar doesn't matter if you know exactly how it works. If you're an antelope, especially, you get 2 shots only, and then you're dead. Like there's no way around it unless you like pump those stims into you between each struggle. So
Yeah.
there is a difference there between the experience of those two.
Now, do you think that was more annoying, or did you feel like that added something to the game that wasn't there because you had this super predator that could take you out?
I really liked it because I don't remember exactly what I say in the first video. I say something like, I really liked that it was something different than just adding
Mhm.
another animal to the game. Like, I get that it really should be physically somewhere, like you can prevent maybe the whole ambush by killing the cougar first or something. I get that. But I like that it was something different that you couldn't predict to the same extent, that was really, really dangerous,
Mhm.
and that made the rewards really worthwhile. So I really liked that. That was a very different approach and a very high risk, high reward situation, especially on Interloper. On Misery, at the time at least, the cougar was like, no, you're never going to kill a cougar on mystery unless you do it like
Mhm.
right away, right in the beginning,
Yeah.
because you would permanently lose like half of your health
Yeah.
doing it, and so that would be very, very bad. So I actually really liked that aspect of it. It made it really rare, really unique, and really terrifying. I get that the mechanics of it could be better, but it made it this really rare threat that you had to really plan to be prepared for. I do think
Mhm.
that I'm not sure if you saw the video I did where I had a ballistics vest and it didn't make any difference. I thought it was a bit
Yep.
strange that the struggle that they did wasn't mitigated by armor, which was a bit strange. That should have been the case with the old Cougar, I think. But even if that was the case, you still had to really prepare for a Cougar 1.0 ambush. But if
Yeah.
you did and you killed it, you were like, the king of the world, because you took down definitely the deadliest thing there was. You got great rewards. So that aspect of it was great. And the dread of it was great. And that aspect is not in Cougar 2.0.
Mhm.
2.0 is more manageable. It's easier. Still dangerous, though. Don't underestimate it. But it's not as of a apex predator as we would maybe like, I guess. But it's
Mhm.
hard to find a balance. Like, I can make a suggestion and we can all make suggestions, but I don't know what the perfect solution is, if there even is one, or what, even if there should be anything done. Like, no matter what is done, someone will always be unhappy. Someone will always say Cougar 1.0 was perfect, 2.0 was perfect. they ruined it,
Yeah.
or whatever. There won't be a perfect world regardless.
Yeah.
You can't make everybody happy all the time. This is
No.
basically what it comes down to. Now, we can answer your one question about the ballistics vest, because when Jitwire and I teamed up to do this thing for this podcast, she had kitted us out with full armor, 100%. And then she
Mhm.
gave me the save file. And so we both had, the same stuff. And we kept, repeating these events because we were, copying the save file. So if it happened, we could go back and start over and replay it. Just to
Yeah.
get the experiences. And I got to the point where I was having the cougar encounters and I wasn't even fighting back because I just wanted the footage. And I got through
Yeah.
like 3 or 4 attacks before it destroyed all the clothing. But the ballistic vest did help, and it took a while before it completely destroyed everything. But we were
Mhm.
kitted out 100%, and we were able to go through. I think I was able to go through like four events before it became an issue.
What difficulty was that?
This was on Stalker, I think,
Okay,
Yeah.
right? That's right.
Stalker.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that made a difference, I'm sure. But it was definitely interesting to just not even fight back. It was just let it happen.
Yeah, that's right. People don't like to do that, but that's how you learn how things work. You
Yep.
gotta die learning it. Doesn't work in the real world, but it works in the game.
Yep.
That was our topic of discussion the other day.
Mhm.
learning from mistakes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Intentional or otherwise.
Learning from moose steaks, as we say in the long dark, isn't it?
Mhm.
I like your background, by the way, in the podcast video. Did you make that with the safe house?
It is
Yes.
safe house customization, and Jitwire had me do the decoration. So she gathered a bunch of stuff, and we decorated to make it kind of look like just a warm, cozy place to sit. And it's got a radio and a phone and cups sitting out and everything. And then she made a GIF out of it, so we just have it playing in the background.
Oh, nice.
So it's got a little bit of it's got a little movement and a little bit of just a cozy place without having everybody's face on the screen and stuff. Because we want this to be something that, we're putting these up on Spotify and what have you. So it's meant to be something to listen to, not so much visual. But we wanted something visual out for anybody watching on YouTube, so there was at least something on the screen.
Yeah,
looks great. I just realized now for some reason I wasn't subscribed. I'm not sure how that happened when I knew about it.
Goodness.
So
Trying to get subscribers.
I'm number 200 now. So yeah.
Okay, so here we go. This is our
Thank you.
this is our new thing. So I haven't played this yet, but here we go. This is the follow us on Twitch or subscribe on YouTube.
Yeah. There you go.
I should have been pushing that a little more when we were going through there because of our discussions about asking for subscribers. So.
Oh yeah, that whole thing. Yeah.
So that was my little quiet cue to do that every once in a while. But
I can say it for you because I'm not the host of it.
There you go.
Everyone listening, that you need to subscribe to this podcast. If you're watching, if you're listening to it, and you are not subscribed, then you know what to do.
Yes, definitely. Because and like we said earlier, and so Zach hears this too. The whole thing about doing the podcast is to have something for the community, and that we want to promote other creators. We want to get more people on like this to have these roundtable discussions and to do something for the community along with the podcast stuff and videos and recordings and what have you. So definitely want to subscribe for that so we can put out polls and ask questions from you guys. What do you want to see from us? What would you like us to venture into and what have you? So the whole idea behind this is because a few years ago we were introduced to this wonderful community, and now we want to do something to be a part and give back to the community with doing the podcast.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, it's great. I like it. It's very cool. I hope that you have some great episodes set. I'll listen where I can. That is a podcast makes it easier for me to listen to it.
Yeah, a lot of the feedback we've been getting is from that. I've gotten quite a few people that have said it's nice to have something to listen to at work or whatever, and it's not visually dependent and stuff. Although the very first one we did on Black Frost was very visual, but beyond that, we've been pretty good about doing more of a radio style podcast.
Yeah, and then you got to get Raph on here.
Yeah.
we
Maybe one day.
we were discussing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have him queued up for an interview with me, but he hasn't replied to my last few emails. I think he's on extended holiday or something. I'm not sure, but I saw he's done some other podcasts where it's been like really small channels. So I think he's not impossible to get.
Mhm.
He probably wouldn't be opposed to it, especially if he thinks you're nice people.
Yeah, and that was one of the discussions that Jawire and I actually had just the other day, was that we definitely want to keep this about the game. We don't want to get into the politics and the negativity and all that stuff. We definitely want to be a positive force and talk about the fun things we enjoy, and we can nitpick
Yeah.
about the things we don't like with the game, like what we're talking about here today or other subjects along that line. But we don't need to get into the rabbit holes and the anger and all that stuff. That's not what we're here for. We're here to enjoy this.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the same. It's usually not worth engaging in drama, and that's a lot of communities have it anyway,
Yeah.
in some way or another. But yeah, no, it's a great initiative. Sorry, I think I kind of unintentionally kind of sidetracked the discussion from Cougar to your podcast, but
That's
it's a nice
okay.
podcast.
No.
We
That's
appreciate you
fine.
being here. We appreciate you talking about it more than you know.
Yeah.
And we're hoping that this will give us, traction. Like I said, we
Yeah.
want to be a force for the community. So we're going to be reaching out to others to join in. I'm hoping that we can do maybe even bigger roundtable discussions. With what we've got set up, we can have up to 11 people on here, which would be crazy,
Gosh.
but
It might be too much.
but maybe 4 or 5. I could do that.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Well, I'll be up for coming on another time if you need me, if I'm able to.
And and with that
Yeah.
said, too, we understand with what's going on in your personal life, and that if whenever you want to jump in on a conversation, if we're talking about something you want to add, all you need to do is just send me a DM, and we'll set you up the same way we did today, and just add you into the conversation. And you can come and go as you feel. I know that sometimes you get called away because the baby wakes up and stuff, and then this way nobody's disappointed, and you can just come and go. But we'd love to,
That's nice.
you've got an open chair. We understand what's going on, so you got an open chair, and just you want to jump in on a subject, by all means, we'd love to have you.
That's very nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll do. I might do. I'll listen while I put the baby to sleep, and I'll just put them down and be like, "Sorry, hold on. I'm just gonna give my 2 cents over here."
Yeah, exactly. That's it. And that way, when you're not able to play and do all that stuff, you can still jibber jabber with us.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. Yeah, that's great. I think I'm going to, unless there's anything you want to get my opinion on at the end, I think I'll hop off and let you to continue.
No,
Okay.
no. Thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate your time.
No,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much, Zach.
Yeah, have a great rest of the podcast, and thank you
Thank
for
you.
having me.
No, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah,
Anytime.
yeah, thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Okay. Well, you got our opinion from us, and you got it from the man
Yep.
who introduced us to Cougar 1.0 before it was a thing.
Yeah.
So, closing thoughts.
Um I mean, I wish Hinterland would almost do like a combined, or even I've seen some people mention like a toggle for Cougar 1.0 or 2.0. I almost wish that was an option because as Cougar 2.0 stands right now, I, I don't really enjoy it. So I think I'm kind of in the same boat as you that if I start another run or anything like that, I might turn it off. So yeah, I mean, I wish there would be some fixes, maybe some, like I said, meshing of ideas between the two, but I don't know if we're gonna get that. I really hope we do.
I think sometimes it's the devil you know versus the devil you don't, and you can
Mm,
wish and hope and all that, and it's you end up with something worse.
Mhm.
and look what happened with 1.0 to 2.0. Not that I'm saying 2.0 is worse, but they changed it in a way that sometimes it doesn't feel any better.
Yeah.
And so it's you got to be careful for what you wish for.
Yep. Yep. I think that is definitely the lesson to take away from this as well. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the next thing you know, we won't be able to jiggle T's.
I
You
know.
gotta be careful what you wish for.
Mhm. You definitely do. And just gonna look at chat here real quick.
Yeah, because
And
we've been
again,
kind of ignoring chat because of our special guest. So forgive us.
yeah, yeah. So Hans, you should have to interact with something in the world in order to activate the cougar. Yeah, so I can see where you're coming from with that. What would you act? What would you?
Maybe you find the cougar's den and
Yeah,
you disrupt it. You disturb it.
that would be cool.
That'd be an interesting thing. Maybe there's something of value in the cougar's den. You go in there to go take that valuable thing, whatever that thing is, and then you've disturbed the cougar's nest, and now it's after you. So that would be a way to have it on or off. If you don't disturb the nest, you don't have it on. That's an interesting idea, and that you have to interact with something, and something like the den or something like that. Yeah, would be an interesting deal, and we definitely need the music back.
Yeah, we definitely need that. That score was so good.
I think we need
I
to
think
use that more.
yeah, I actually have like I think it's almost like a 12-minute clip of it. So if you guys liked the score from the beginning, let us know. And we can maybe just post like some Cougar stuff and then a score. So if you guys want to go and listen to it, you can.
And then maybe that's something we can add as a like a permanent intro music with what we're doing on the podcast
Hmm.
too. Feedback, feedback, feedback.
Yep.
Let us
And
know.
then Faye is saying maybe we do a whole chat about weight management and essential items to have in your inventory.
I
That would be
like that.
great. That would be good. That would be good because I know what I should carry and what I shouldn't carry, but so I can talk about that. But versus what I actually do carry in game, yeah, I tend to be a little bit of a loot goblin, so
Okay,
it might be nice to.
I'm going to say this with peace and love. We don't want Zach back on this because he looks at his backpack, says he doesn't need anything, and then never takes it out of his bag. So
Hmm.
sorry, Zach. I don't know how many times I've watched him do videos, and he goes, I don't need this, but I'm going to carry it anyway. Oh, I don't need this, I'm going to carry it anyway. So I
Hmm.
think we need to not invite him for that one. And I'm just kidding. We always want you here, but
Yep, always.
that would be a good suggestion. And then I guess this would be a good segue to say that if you aren't a part of it, that we have a Discord channel, and you can get the link of it here on the YouTube and the Twitch channel, and we have a section just for suggestions. So if you want to interact, you got questions, you got ideas, or whatever for what you'd like to see in the show, come join the Discord channel. There are places in there for those kinds of things. So anyway, yeah, back to what we were going over here.
Yep.
But I like the weight management idea. That is good.
Yeah, that is a good idea. And yes, Stars does have a really good video series on weight management. I have been watching his videos. They are great. Um,
That would
so
also be
yeah,
another thing too about the Discord. I mean, we can start, promoting other people and talking about other people, because
mhm,
even going to what I was talking about earlier about Cougar 1.0 was, it came in on a Monday, went out on a Friday, and we were talking earlier in chat with that a lot of people didn't even get a chance to get to the weekend to play it. So same
mhm,
thing. There are a number of people that I watch as content creators. And I'm, obviously because of my affiliation with Zach, I tend to watch all of Zach's videos, because a lot of the things he says are, they're ideas for new merchandise and what have you. Some of the new merchandise we've come out with is based on things he says, or interactions with things. So it's imperative for me to watch all that stuff and be fluent in that to help in that avenue. So that limits the amount of time to watch other people. Now, obviously, my co-host here, I watch a lot of her stuff because It helps with us interact. I watch stuff from DH Dunn. I watch stuff from Bashrobe. I watch Archimedes. There's a point to where I can't watch everybody. So it's nice to
Yeah.
hear input from everybody here to know, like, hey, this person's good. We've like what was it? SF Plays. We got that one a few
Mhm.
weeks ago. That I hadn't heard of that person. Those are things we don't see because the limited amount of time we get to watch everything. So it's nice to get introduced to somebody you might not know. These are also people we'd
Mhm.
like to get invited on here so that they can promote their channel and talk about what they're doing and stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So comments and feedback are very important for us in this, endeavor so that we can grow in a direction that is important for everybody to listen to. So we're very excited about all this that's been going on.
Yeah, I can make a static post too here on YouTube and I'll link it in like we're planning on doing a pinned comment, with all the links to like people's videos on the subject and everything. And I'll link that there too and so we can have it like a suggestion box on YouTube because I know not everyone has Discord as well.
Yeah,
So
that would be a good idea.
feedback's feedback's important.
And I think there's a way to do that too. As we get more subscribers, that also opens up things, and why we're going to be
Mhm.
pestering about subscribers, and that it opens
Yeah.
up a way to have a community thing within YouTube. So the quicker we get up to that mark where we can have that, we definitely we can add those little aspects to have the community be on YouTube, as well as Discord and what have you.
Okay. Yeah. Uh yeah, so just looking at chat for see if anyone has any feedback. So Silent Shade is saying on the weight management discussion would be cool to talk through it across difficulties because different considerations there. That's absolutely correct. Like, it's completely different on interloper versus stalker versus even pilgrim,
Yeah,
what
Pilgrim,
you
you don't
need to
have to
keep.
carry as much food. And yeah, that would be a good one. I like that idea. We're gonna have to put that one on
Hmm.
the list for sure. That's
Yep.
definitely a good, very good topic. I like it.
Yeah. And then Aaron says the Lieutenant TLD is a new YouTuber that has made some videos.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we'll check him out.
And then Piccolos, I know that Twitch has a big community, but it's nice to get the YouTube community too. Yeah, and that's kind of why we've been trying to broadcast to Twitch and to YouTube and stuff. We're trying to go across all of the spectrum here. And I know that with Twitch, the audience is still pretty low right now. I just don't think people know about us. And as we continue and word of mouth and what have you, so again, we appreciate everybody that's mentioned things. I know we've gotten a few comments that other creators have asked about us and that. So it's nice that people are talking about us and that, and we hope that it will
Hmm.
grow from there.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, and Facebook is something we're looking into as well, although we're still a ways off from that. We just want to try and be as many spots that we possibly can be, be as accessible as we can make this.
And I think one of the other questions too was, were we going to move all of the older broadcasts? Because we're actually considering this the first broadcast. Everything that we did on my channel and Jitwire's channel, we're calling warm ups. We weren't quite sure what the reception was going to be. We weren't sure how we were going to be able to handle all this. And so now that we've gotten this new channel going and everything, we definitely will bring in the old broadcast and make them available on the new YouTube channel so they're all
Hmm.
together. It's just going to you'll just need to give us some time to get that done, but we will eventually get those available for everybody to watch all together here. So
Yeah, and we'll get them up on Spotify as well. I know a lot of people were asking to have these on Spotify, and this one we'll try and get it up probably by Monday, so it'll be on Spotify as well.
yeah, we'll try to be more on top of that. Going forward, it'll be easier. Getting the back catalog moved and everything will take a little bit of time, but we'll get it moved and
Yep.
stuff. Unless we got anything else.
No, I think we're good. Um Yeah, just a big thank you to everyone for joining us and also to Zach for joining us. And I know he shouted us out on his channel and his Discord as well. Thank you so very much. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, Zach, thank you so much for everything. You've been
Yeah.
so supportive and so helpful with that, and we appreciate you coming in. And we hope that you will take advantage of our open offer to come in and jump on
Hmm.
and chit chat with us as we go forward. I'm going to push that one more time and remind everybody to subscribe.
Yep.
I really like this stupid subcat. That was funny.
Yeah.
So
It's
with
great.
that said, hey, I can't say anything more than it's been an absolute joy to talk about this subject. It's been a project in the works
Hmm.
for several weeks. It took the two of us to get to this point where we had these experiences, and then to have Zach come in and join us to talk about it because he's had so much experience with it himself, and he
Hmm.
has such a profound um his thought process on it because of the experiences. So it's been a good one from that aspect. So I can't how do you top all that? So thank you
Hmm.
everyone to came and watched live, and anybody that comes in afterwards. Please take the time to give us feedback, let us know what we can do, and with that, I will let Jitwire close us out.
Thank you all so very much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And we hope to see you next time. Bye bye.